Deadman Center, Cup Stadium area, the Armstrong Complex, and all of those mobile buildings that are around there. This is a pedestrian evacuation. In other words, they're walking people across the street, over the bridge, and up to the main part of campus. The shelter in place remains in effect for everybody else on campus. That means get in a building and stay there. Don't move. They are also, and this is the city of Radford, with some help from RUPD, is evacuating the Green Hill Apartments, which is down there by the Deadman Center. If you're on campus, you're looking at Deadman Center, it says apartments that would be over to your right down by the river. Are there any questions?
What caused the accident?
It was a tanker truck that overturned. It was diverted from an accident on Interstate 81. This was about 10 after 1. The tanker was going down the hill, Tyler, by Muse. It lost its brakes. And there were witnesses to that. As it got to that intersection, it couldn't make the turn. It was going through on a green light, but it couldn't make the turn, flipped over.
You say that the brakes failed. Could that have actually been an act of sabotage? Could we be looking at an act of terrorism?
I would take that up with the police. It was part of this, as I said, diversion of traffic off 81. There's no reason to think it would be or wouldn't, but I can't answer that. We just know that the brakes
Excuse
failed.
me,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
heard that this was actually caused by an intoxicated student. What did you say about that?
I have heard nothing about that. It was a tanker truck that overturned because its brakes failed.
Was someone injured in an accident? Anyone?
I don't know that yet. That would, the hazmat and fire department would be able to answer that for you.
I have a question. How do you all know when you're calling a shelter in place, I know it's a little different from maybe a shooter on campus in comparison to gas. How are you sure that a shelter in place actually protects the students from gas?
The way this, well, they have a plume model,
Okay.
which is with the sensors that they have placed. The plume is moving away from campus with the way the wind is now. However, shelter in place is the safest place to be for now.
You say the sensors, you said the plume is moving away from campus. Where are the sensors exactly?
That I don't know. You would have to check with the hazmat team to find out. I know there is one very close to the site, down there where the buses park at Tyler and Main. Where the others are, I don't know, but that's a hazmat question, yeah.
How are you informing students of what to do once they are in shelter?
Everything's on the website. Everything is coming out on Twitter, Facebook, the RU alerts that you get on your cell phone.
Okay, what would happen if the wireless network were to go down or what? How
I
would you
can't
get
answer that. I can't imagine all of this going down at once. Yes, ma'am.
You said that you informed the entire community of this event. How did you reach out to locals and businesses?
No, the entire campus community.
Oh, so the community in Radford?
That's Radford PD.
Have you been informed?
Oh, yeah, they were first
How
to
did they
see.
communicate with them?
How did we communicate with
How
them?
has the community been informed?
That I don't know.
Is that not relevant to you to inform the community?
No,
You're just
I
gonna
work
leave
for
it to
Radford University. Yeah,
About students off campus?
students
Are they
off
part of
campus,
Radford?
now that, people who are, like commuter students?
Yes.
Well, they're getting the same alerts on their text phone that everybody, their cell phones that everybody else is. There's cell phone messages and so on. The university is closed off by the police, so nobody's gonna be able to come in. So it's not like somebody's gonna drive into a hazardous situation. Yes, ma'am?
If somebody is already coming into contact with the gas, what should they do before taking
You
shelter?
should probably go to the emergency room. If it is chlorine gas, which is what they think it is, you're gonna be, like your eyes are gonna be burning, you're gonna be sneezing. This is not moving toward a populated area right now. So well, I'm not gonna speculate on that, yeah.
You said that you're moving students from the Deadman Center up toward campus. What if the wind shifts? Could we be looking at a massive health crisis if the wind shifts and we have people being intoxicated by toxic gas?
Well, this is a day when, and this is a scenario. The wind all day has been 0 to 5 miles an hour. It's a very calm day.
So you have the power to predict the weather based on
We know what
previous events?
we know what the weather forecast is for the day, which is it's gonna be like this for the rest of the afternoon.
How
Yeah.
fast is the gas traveling?
Presume it's traveling at the wind speed, but that would be a question to ask the hazmat team, yeah.
Are classes canceled? Like, how long will this evacuation? or
As long
shelter
as,
in
as
place?
long as the shelter in place is in place,
How long do you see the shelter in place?
that would be a hazmat question, Yeah.
Ma'am, we mentioned earlier, if you'll check your Twitter site, it's actually trending that an RU student caused this accident, caused the tanker to turn over. Do y'all have any information on that?
I have heard nothing like that. Certainly not from the police, facilities, or anyone on campus. Yeah.
Where are you taking the students that are being advised to walk from Green Hill Apartments to the Dedman Center?
That I don't know. That facilities management and RUPD are finding a safe shelter for them. I can find that out for you next time.
What's interesting is that you mentioned that, you know, they should just go to the emergency room, any person that has come into contact with the gas. How do you plan on proceeding if it's a student and only having a certain amount of resources at the student health center?
Well, people could be transported if there was a medical emergency, as in any medical emergency.
Who would be paying for that? Because essentially that's $800 just to ride an ambulance. Who would pay for that?
I presume however you would pay for any medical emergency. I really can't answer that
So
question.
it's on the responsibility of the student to pay for it?
I can't answer that.
How are you dealing with the students' parents?
We're getting a lot of phone calls. The statement that's on the website, if parents call in, we refer them to the website. If they just want to hear a voice, we'll talk to them and say, you know, we're sheltered in place. Yeah,
As a high school and elementary school, have they been shut down or evacuated?
they're not affected.
But the wind is moving towards the other community off campus, so they're not affected at all?
The wind is moving toward the river. Elementary school is up the hill. Yeah.
As far as the students walking from the Green Hill Apartments in the Dedman, you guys couldn't offer RU Transit to get them transportation up to wherever they're being taken?
At the moment, it's a pedestrian evacuation.
If shelter in place is so effective.
Hold on just a second.
Okay.
You said it's moving towards the river. What does that mean for the wildlife and the river and the environment in general?
I'm sure it's not good for them.
Are any measures going to be taken to
Yeah, I
see
can't
the
answer
effects of that?
Yeah, I'm speaking for Radford University only. I can't address environmental impact. I can't address hazmat. Yeah. Wait a minute, I think this gentleman was next.
If shelter in place is so effective, then why did you have people moving away from the Dedman Center? Wouldn't you have sheltered in place the people at the Dedman Center as well if that was so effective?
They were sheltered in place at first, but because of the way the toxic plume is moving, the wind could shift slightly and they would not necessarily be safe there. Yeah.
You keep referring answers that you don't know to a hazmat person. When are we gonna be able to talk to a hazmat person to get our questions answered? Or at
As soon
least-
as we get done here. You can put your hands down and I can go down. Go ahead.
So I heard you say earlier, are you verifying that there is no possible risk to the community?
I can't say anything about that. Again, you know, I don't control the weather. I know what the forecast is, but, you know,
Isn't Radford University essentially supposed to be a part of the community because it is primarily the buildup of Radford in general? So there's no tie-in to the people who are surrounding this area? Like there's nobody
Yeah.
that's concerned about
there's
that at all?
Radford PD, Radford Fire Department, EMS, hazmat. They are all on the scene.
But how are you working with them in order to get that information out? Because I would say that
They
would
have
kinda
their
be
own,
just as
the city of
important.
Radford has its own PIO.
Okay.
I'm responsible for Radford University and that's it. And those are the only questions I can really answer, yeah.
So as the chlorine gas moves from location to location, you're just gonna start evacuating people from
We
different
don't know.
locations?
We don't know.
Is there a place to put those students once you move them? Where's the shelter right now?
I don't know, but I'll try to find out. So you want to know the kids that are leaving Dedman, where they're going?
Where the actual
Let me see if I
shelter
can
is.
find out.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason Hentz. I'm the Public Relations Officer for Radford Campus PD, Radford City PD, and the Radford City Transit Office. With me is my associate, ROC-TV. We'll be informing you about some events that have taken place this afternoon. Approximately at 13:10 this afternoon, there was an accident on Highway 81 going northbound. We do not have any more information upon this accident except for the fact that they have rerouted traffic through the city of Radford using the routes of Tyler and Main Street to reroute them to Route 11 and to through Dublin to get around the accident on 81. Then roughly about 10 minutes after that, we received information upon another accident that happened on East Main Street. A truck that was rerouted from the accident on 81, traveling southbound on East Main Street, crashed in front of SunTrust Bank and Radford University. He crashed in the parking lot, and upon first responders' arrival to the scene, they realized that it was a truck carrying hazardous materials. There was a crack in its hull of the cargo that it was carrying, and it contained a small plume. It started to form a small plume of gas. What Radford Fire Department told us is that it was chlorine, and that it had formed a small corrosive cloud. That is all the information that I have at this time upon these incidents that have taken place. Again, it's 2 accidents. There was one on 81. Due to the rerouting of all the traffic flow on 81, the second truck that crashed on Main Street was the one that was containing the chemicals. Now, I'm going to say my part. Rocky's going to address the next half of this incident, and then we will take a few questions. So here's Rocky.
How's everybody doing? Just to let everybody know that there have been blockades put in place. The fire department has put a block off on Tyler and East Main Street. There is another block in place in front of the Radford University Library right at the stoplight, and another blockade put in place right in front of the BP gas station on East Main Street. All traffic is being diverted down Grove Street to re-enter Main Street right around the Applebee's area, and then traffic is being diverted either to exit 105 on the interstate or down to Double. That is all the information we have as far as that's concerned right now, and we'll open it up to any questions you may have.
Is the driver okay?
Currently, right now, we don't have any information on the driver of either of the accidents.
Has anyone else been injured?
We have no other information about anything else. The only thing that we've been informed upon is the 2 accidents. Nothing more from the campus, nothing more about the driver's condition or anything like that.
What direction is the plume going towards?
We have no information upon the plume.
Can people see the gas or smell it?
We don't know that yet.
You don't know that yet. You don't know anything about the hazardous material at all, if it flows uphill or downhill?
Not at all. All we've been informed upon is that there were 2 incidents, one just outside the city of Radford, one in the city of Radford, and that responders are on the scene.
How are you informing the community, the students, the parents, people that are involved?
Right now, we're holding this press conference, but we're also alerting the staff as well. We're getting in contact with Radford campus as well as Radford city planners in order to inform both the students and the city.
And exactly how is that being done?
It's in the process right now. We literally were just informed of the accidents that have taken place and are taking steps to do that.
Your lack of knowledge about this situation is startling to me. The guidelines that were in place for this type of situation, have these been practiced? And what information can you tell us about this?
They have been practiced, and I don't want to give any information that I'm not 100% accurate on. That's why we're only giving what we know. We know of the 2 accidents. We know that there are responders in place and they're taking action right now. That's all
What
that we
kind
know.
of action are they taking? Have they plugged the crack up? Has any,
Right now, they formed Incident Command, which is involving both Radford Campus PD, Radford City PD, Radford City managers, as well as Radford Transit. They're all working together in a plan on it.
But are they closing the crack, or are they just letting it continue out?
I don't know. All we know of is that there is a crack,
What
and that
should-
the gas is forming.
What should students do that are
We
around
re-
that area?
What we recommend is that students that are in the direct area of this get inside. Any student or citizen of Radford needs to stay inside. We are saying no media or nobody needs to go down to this area because it's unsafe. So we are recommending that students go inside and avoid this area.
How unsafe is it?
We don't know yet.
You don't know
All
how
the-
unsafe it is?
No, we don't. We were just literally just informed of this entire incident starting.
Are the employees of SunTrust Bank advised to stay inside as well?
Yes, anybody in the area, anyone outside in the city of Radford, we are recommending they seek indoors until this incident has passed.
What's the
Until
rate?
we know the severity of it.
What's the radius of the area?
We don't know yet.
Is
Literally.
this gas heavier or lighter than air?
We don't know any of the information on the gas. Literally, we know the
You don't know
accidents. and that's
basic
it.
scientific principles about the material that you're supposed to be cleaning up?
I am not cleaning it myself personally, and I'm not a hazmat personnel, so I don't have this information.
So essentially,
I will
we
get it
shouldn't
for
talk to
you,
you,
but
we
I
should
don't
talk
know.
to hazmat, is what you're saying. So
No.
you're no purpose other than just a filler, a time filler.
No, that's all that I'm saying right now. We'll get back to you guys in 30 minutes with a more detailed, up-to-date list. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Deanne from Bradford University.
And I'm Sergeant Carpentier, and I have the gun, so.
I can answer two questions that you asked last time about why this evacuation from the Dedman Center is a pedestrian evacuation. They're also using university vans and vehicles for facilities management, but there's no way buses can get in there because the area is closed off. Traffic's closed off. Your other question was, oh, I forgot it already.
Where's the shelter?
Oh, they're sheltering people in any available space on campus in the part that's in the direction opposite the clinic. But
Which would be, can you get any specific?
well, you can get into the library, Martin Hall, any Porterfield, any of those that are the first when you cross the street.
Are you keeping track of all the students that you're transporting? Is there any sort of system in place?
Facilities management is tracking people. That wouldn't be my job, but Officer Carpentier can answer some of your questions from the police perspective. And I did catch one question. Chlorine gas is heavier than air. It is colorless, but it will flow downhill if this is in fact chlorine gas. And I'm going to shut up.
So people would be safer on upper level floors and buildings?
Yes. Yes.
Just briefly tell you who I am. I'm Sergeant Carpentier with the State Police, and in real life, I'm a public information sergeant. So I do this stuff more so than these folks here, but y'all are doing a good job. But try not to attack anybody, okay? Because sometimes we don't have the answers. You know, there's specialists, and I've always been honest with the media. If I can't tell you the answer, I'm going to tell you. I can't tell you that right now. We'll get back with you, okay? And in a real life situation, you guys wouldn't even be near this incident, because right now, as it stands, according to this scenario, within a 2-block radius, if you're anywhere near this, you could die from this leak, okay? So if you have any questions, yes, ma'am.
Were there any injuries in either of the crashes?
I understand that the truck driver was injured in the tanker with the chlorine. He apparently got out of the vehicle, went up to campus, and he was unconscious. So that means we're dealing with a couple things. He may be contaminated, okay? So if we have emergency responders head in there to try to help him, they put themselves at risk too. So you have to weigh the situation. Not long ago, I was involved in something like this up on Interstate 81, and it was a real life situation. A truck driver wrecked on Interstate 81, vehicle overturned, he was trapped in it for several hours. There was a poisonous gas leakage. So we're out there being exposed to this. And it was several hours before they could extricate him from the vehicle. They put him in an ambulance. They took him to Carilion Roanoke Memorial Hospital. Because he was contaminated, the hospital would not allow him to go into the emergency room. So you have a victim that's contaminated, you have the ambulance that's contaminated, the personnel that can be contaminated, and that's what you're dealing with. So, you know, you're putting more people's lives at risk. So you have to weigh the good, the bad, and the ugly, unfortunately, okay? So, you know, a lot of times people are saying, well, how come you're not helping this person? Well, we just don't rush in and, you know, we're all professionals, just like you're trying to be professional in reporting stuff. The fire department, the rescue squad, the police, we just don't go in. I'll answer your question in a second. We just don't go in there head first, you know? You got to plan things out. You have to see what, you know, when we're responding to something and we get there, and if there's a poisonous gas, are we going to put ourselves at risk? Who are we helping? We're not going to be of any help to anybody because we're going to be victims ourselves. So you have to weigh these things, okay? All right? You had a question, then I'll answer yours. Yes.
Do you know how much gas was spilled?
At this point, don't know yet. There's a large leakage is what they said. What we're trying to do is determine what, as far as the load, how much was on there. And we try to do that by bill of lading, and that would be found in the truck by law, and that's federal law. They're required to carry this bill of lading. It tells us what they're loaded with, if it's hazardous materials, and how much is on there. That would give us an idea, and that helps the fire department as to what they need to do. Okay? Yeah.
Realistically, would rapid police, firemen, hospitals, should they have the equipment to deal with things like that, like hazmat suits and
Well,
stuff like
the
that?
fire department is going to have that.
So they're
Okay?
the ones that are going to be
Right.
leading this.
When we go to an incident like this, believe it or not, the fire department is in charge of the scene. Okay? We're assisting them, whether it be Radford City Police Department, State Police, Radford University. We're all like at their disposal. Okay? We're in a support role. Okay? The fire department controls it. If they say, hey, I need this a half-mile radius evacuated, then we're going to help do that. Okay? Whatever they need, we're going to try to accomplish that. We're not going to reroute traffic anywhere even close to this situation. As I said earlier, they said it was a two-block radius, that anybody in that two-block radius could die from this gas. Okay? Yes.
With the town of 13,000 people and an accident like this, are you concerned about a breakdown of law and order resulting from?
Well, there's always that
or-
possibility. I mean, you know, because your resources are diverted to another type of incident or location, you know, sometimes people do like to take advantage of the situation, whether they're going to go rob a bank or they're going to go in and start something at a store. You never know. There's always going to be stuff, and that's stuff you have to think about, because we have to bring in extra resources in case that does happen.
Is your department prepared for that possibility?
Well, meaning state police, we are, because we have what they call a tactical field force. We would bring them out to assist. A lot of that could be with crowd control. It could be with evacuation. If it does come to unrest, you know, they have their riot gear. And I'm sure anybody that's been here a year or two, you know how it is when we have a little festival towards the end of the school year, right? You usually see the police down here to try to keep things under control, right?
So you're prepared to use riot gear and tear
Well-
gas in the face of a medical emergency like this?
It depends on the situation. We'll have our people.
What about this situation?
Okay. Well, if there's nothing going on, we'll have them on standby. They won't be dressed out in the riot gear ready to roll. They'll be at an undisclosed location, okay? You're not going to even know we're here. Then, if the Radford City Police Department or Radford University Police Department needs us, then we're activated. We're here already on site. If something happens and Chief Goodman needs us and he didn't call for us and we have to respond, it's going to take some time for us to get down here. But if he already activated us, we're sitting somewhere, you know, at an undisclosed location. You're not going to know that we're here. Boom. As soon as the call goes out, we're ready to go. I'm sorry.
I can interrupt
Yeah.
for just a second. I need to get back in there.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
But we're setting up a joint operating center, and it will be at the Radford Recreation Department, 200 George Street, as of 5 minutes from now.
Sounds like if you've been come in contact with this gas, it's pretty serious, and the hospital might not have the ability to help you. So what would you say or suggest to community members?
Well, you may not even
college
make it to the hospital. The
students?
best thing to do is stay
What would you
inside
suggest if you've
somewhere.
been- Yeah.
Stay inside, don't come out. You know, a lot of times people don't pay attention to news or media releases. You know, like with Radford, your alert system, that's a great tool, okay? I've been to Virginia Tech when we've had some major incidents before, and some of the students have been oblivious as to what's going on. There's a man out here running around with a gun. These students are walking around or they're riding on the bikes in the area or the proximity where this person was. Doesn't that sound a little crazy?
So you would, if someone got contaminated, you would just say stay inside?
No,
and-
no. If somebody got contaminated, that's a different story. You call 911, okay? I'm saying to avoid being contaminated, you stay inside. You don't even put yourself in that position.
Absolutely, but so
Okay.
for the people
Yeah.
who have been contaminated.
But if somebody is, you call 911 and explain what's going on. Let me get his question and I'll answer.
What was the company that the driver was driving?
The company's name of the
Yeah,
truck?
yeah.
That is it's undetermined right now. I don't know. Okay? Yes.
Is there some sort of hotline set in place for locals or Radford community members to be able to call to get information about what to do, where they should be?
You know, if Radford City would do that, they would see that that would be done, because you know you're gonna get, 911's gonna be flooded with calls. So we need to try to avoid that. What they would try to do is set up some like hotline or something. We would let the media know, hey, this is the number, if it's a non-emergency that you need to call with your questions or concerns. Because, whenever you have a major incident take place, what do people want to do? They call 911, right? It ties up the lines when there's emergencies. So we want to try to avoid that. And that's what's, that's something we would do, like Radford City would have their PIO, or we would assist them, and it's mass media. You want to get that information out to the public and say, hey, this is the number you need to call with these type of questions. Don't call 911 unless it's an actual emergency.
We have a new system, fictitiously. We're going to hopefully go to this system eventually, a 311 system to use to gather information, not to report emergency situations, but to gather information. Does that make sense?
And who are you, sir?
I'm Don Goodman. I'm the chief of police for the city of Radford.
What is the 311 system?
It rings to my dispatch center and connects you with somebody who can answer your questions of a non-emergency nature.
Well, I'm gonna just jump in here. I've been holding my hand up for a while, so I'm tired of holding my hand up. I had a question for the both of you. There's two questions. I noticed that you mentioned that if they're contaminated, they should call 911, but you also just said that the hospital is refusing to see people who are contaminated?
No, I never said that.
Oh.
I said I've experienced this in real life.
Okay,
Where
so-
a person that was in a bad wreck was transported, he died on the way. There's no sense of bringing that.
A little prior to that, though, I remember you stating that, but I remember you saying that there's a chance that if they do go to the hospital because they've already been contaminated, they might not actually be seen in the emergency
No, I
room.
never said that. I'm sorry if you took that wrong, but they'd have to set up like a triage. They have their system in place at the hospital to handle that. What I'm saying is the incident that really took place in real life, they weren't prepared for that. It wasn't set up because they didn't know that person was contaminated.
So you're saying that now they'll have it set up for that?
What's that now?
Now they'll have it set up in place for that?
We would notify the hospital, say, hey,
The hospital's they have their own emergency plan, and so the hospital, when they get word of this kind of contamination, they're going to set up their own emergency plan and prepare their triage areas so that if somebody comes in contaminated, that they don't contaminate the rest of the ER. Does that make sense?
Is a representative from the hospital here today?
There's a Carillion.
There's Carillion representatives here.
I have one more question for you. I noticed that you guys are going to be mostly in the community that is surrounding Radford University. How will you deal with the congestion and the traffic? Obviously, because we have a pedestrian evacuation that's going to be happening, as well as people who are going to be trying to get rerouted, and you're on two busy streets. How do you plan on doing that without further contaminating people, since we don't know if the gas is going to come back, if it's going to go further away? We're not quite sure of that.
Well, we're gonna ask, first of all, for people to pay attention to the messages that we put out and to cooperate as much as they can with us, and to have a little bit of patience. With this much pedestrian traffic and this much vehicle traffic, things are going to get congested. And we will make sure that we're putting people in the safest path as possible to move away from this event.
As far as the state police aspect of it, we're not going to even get traffic near, hopefully people are going to pay attention to the alerts, like Chief Goodman said, and not try to leave in a vehicle. This other incident involved another accident, 3 vehicles on the interstate, right? So originally what we were going to try to do is reroute the traffic through the city of Radford.
Most of the people are in the Bonnie or the Burlington building, but that is done. The university, as of 2:20 p.m., has canceled all activities for the remainder of this incident, whatever that might be. The shelter in place is still in place. Get indoors, stay where you are until further notice. And that's really all we've got. Radford Fire, as the state police officer said, is in charge of this now. The campus, we're all sheltered in place, and we really don't have any further involvement
with the incident. Yes, ma'am.
What are you telling parents that have called in asking about their kids, if they're okay, or do you know where specific students are to get
Oh,
information
no.
to parents?
We figured that they were in touch with their students almost immediately. I mean, most people are, texting or calling, but what we're telling parents who happen to reach us is that as far as we know, everybody has sheltered in place, everybody's safe, there's no threat to the campus.
As far as you know, has anybody been taken in an ambulance away from campus where they were they exposed?
We have had no reports of any exposure to any kind of hazardous material on campus. As far as I know, and again, I don't know everything, but from what I've heard, the truck driver is the only one so far who is injured. Yes, ma'am.
So what sort of plan do you have in place if the wind were to shift and it were to go to campus to those people, those
That would be a
students?
fire department question, but at the moment, the weather conditions haven't changed all afternoon. It's still 1 to 5 miles an hour drifting down toward the river, and I'm sorry about the
Do
frogs.
you have a plan
but-
though? Does
Do-
Radford
do I have a
University-
plan?
Does Radford University have a plan if it were to shift?
Again, Radford is not handling this now. We are doing whatever the fire department tells us to do. They're in charge now.
If the fire department were to instruct you that the wind conditions have changed, what would Radford University do with the students that are in place, that you've told to stay in place, but
Well,
now the gas is coming?
I really
towards them?
can't answer that, but they have emergency plans in place. If they told us to evacuate campus, then we would evacuate campus. But again, especially with chlorine, I think that's highly unlikely. Yes, ma'am. Did you have a
I
question?
did have a question. It does seem that if you have a shelter in place, it would help if there was any kind of like an assailant, but I'm thinking because gas is an invisible, from what we know, is an invisible killer, how could you avoid if there was a wind change, or if that you may have thought that it was leaving and it's coming towards these areas? How does the shelter in place actually help with that?
Well, they have sensors set up. The hazmat folks have sensors all around. If there's even the slightest change, then they'll be on that immediately.
Okay.
Did you have a question?
Was the rumor from Twitter confirmed or not? Was it an accident from a student, RU student, or not?
I have not heard anything to that effect. I can't confirm it, can't deny it, just don't know.
As of 2:30, the leak is stopped. However, this is not all clear because of stuff that kind of linger around nasty stuff. The state Department of Environmental Law is on the scene. And the company that owns the capital is on it.
Do you know the company?
They haven't told us yet. So you'll have to do something. We're good? All right, thanks.
What are you guys doing? Go ahead and move
What y'all doing on replacement, man? What y'all doing on walking well? No. Ain't that where we got the joint public relations set up, run about it? Don. Where did you set up the joint exercise
At the rec center.
There you go.
The city rec center, about 600.
Yeah, we're going to utilize the building.
Okay. Sorry.
No. Let's go back.
Now, the rec center is built.
This is right down there.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was thinking one out of the old one.
We're not going to shuttle all these people back and forth, the triage here.
Right. I guess.
We have a lot more information that's going to be coming from both Rocky and myself, and afterwards we'll be taking a few more questions. It has been confirmed by our hazmat crew that it was a chemical release. It was a chlorine release. It was confirmed by hazmat. It was also confirmed by chemical sensors located on the railroad tracks in Norfolk Southern. It is not heavier than, it is heavier than air. It does not react to water or fire. The main threat right now is that it's the danger that you would face is that if you inhale it is the direct effect that you would have from it. Some other symptoms that we want residents to keep an eye on, and this is when the level of gas goes up. Right now it's below a less than lethal level. When it goes up, you will see symptoms of coughing and irritation to your eyes, as well as chest pains and vomiting, and then you'll start having pulmonary distress. So we recommend for the citizens and the students of Radford, if you feel any of these symptoms, to call your health care provider or Carillion Clinic and speak to a doctor or a physician for more information. As for the driver's in critical condition. He has been taken to Carillion Clinic. We do not have the name of the driver. We're waiting to locate his family before we release any more information upon the driver. We do not know the extent of his injuries except the fact that he is in critical condition and in Carillion being attended by medical personnel. The city of Radford, as well as the campus of Radford, has decided out of safety for its residents and its students that they evacuated Muse, SunTrust Bank, and Green Hill Apartments. All the residents of Muse were escorted by campus police to Muse by foot to the Kobe building across campus. This is just a precaution. We just wanted to make sure that they were out of the danger zone while it's being cleaned up and contained by hazmat. Also, the SunTrust people, the workers, were taken off by campus PD and taken to Kobe as well. And Green Hill Apartments, there's not just campus facility or campus students there. There are also residents of the city of Radford there. City police officers went in and evacuated every building to make sure that there's no students or faculty remaining. They all took RU transit buses from Green Hill to Kobe. Kobe is the staging area where we're holding everybody until this passes. RU Alert has been sending alerts through email, also social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter. Those students that have signed up for the alerts are getting them through text messages as well. The city of Radford has also sent out alerts through their alert system. Emails, phone messages, TV messages, radio messages are how they're inputting their information. Anyone that's not in the infected area, we still recommend that you stay indoors and shelter in place. There's just no reason to go outside right now and even risk being around this while it's being contained. I'm going to pass this along to Rocky, and he's going to just give you guys his information, and then we'll take a few more questions.
Hey guys, I don't have a whole lot more information other than there is a staging area in the Food Lion parking lot. What we have there, we have 20 volunteers, 2 ambulances that volunteered from Chibalaski, 2 ambulances from our hospital, and they have eye washing stations available, and students, residents can be seen there to treat minor symptoms. But if they believe that anything is major, they should still contact the hospital or their care provider for further treatment. That's pretty much all the information we have at this time, and we will open it up for questions.
You said that you advise people off campus or just locals to stay inside to avoid any risk, but you, less than a block away, you took all of the students out of Muse and the SunTrust Bank and had them walk across to Kobe?
That's correct. The reason we felt it was safe for them to walk, the way that the gas cloud was pushing, it was pushing towards the railroad tracks, towards Green Hill. and the wind was moving south, I think at 2 miles per hour. That was pretty constant. So the wind was not blowing in a direction that would make the chlorine gas towards campus that would make it unsafe for the residents to walk.
Is traffic closed off around the accident?
Yeah, the update that we gave our last briefing is still in effect, where they did the blockade in front of the library right at the red light.
So are you only allowing the buses that are transitioning the students through, or are you not? You said you have buses in place to transport the students, but if the traffic's blockade?
It's not blocked, it's blocked at the red light right across the street from the library. So the bridge to transit from Green Hill is still open, unless I'm misunderstanding. Yes?
Do you have a hotline in place for parents that are calling in to check on their students or their kids to make sure that they're okay?
We don't have any information if there's a hotline open. I do know that we communicated by email to let the parents know what we have done for the students. Unsure about a hotline, but I will be more than happy to get that information for you.
You had said earlier that when the levels of the gas increase, the symptoms that occur, are you saying that you anticipate that happening?
Good question. No, we do not anticipate it. Our hazmat team does have a fog system, water system in place that can control the chlorine gas. We do not anticipate the levels rising at all. We're just giving you guys information in case it does happen, what to expect. Yes.
So at this point, it's pretty much low levels of chlorine gas that only have a certain amount of effects, because in our research that I know we've done for WSCT, we found that chlorine gas is also used in tactical warfare for World War I. So with those being the kind of symptoms that you're saying, the symptoms that I know from my research, it seems like it's kind of intense, but what kind of levels are we talking here? Like, what kind of reactions are you expecting?
We actually do not anticipate anything other than the irritated eyes or maybe coughing, but let me see if we have the, I'm gonna let Jason take it.
We were told by hazmat that it's 15 particles per million, which is below even you would feel symptoms right now. What I had mentioned was when it goes up, and I have the list.
When or if it goes up? Do you anticipate it going up?
When, if it goes up. We do not, like Rocky said, we do not anticipate it going up. We wanted to let everybody know what to look for if it did go up. So.
Do you expect it to go up if the leak is still open?
No. At this point, our hazmat crew has told us we do not expect it to go up at all.
So the leak is still open, it hasn't closed up yet?
Correct.
When do you guys plan on closing that opening up? Because I know that the more you keep it open, the more gas that is going to be emitted into the air and the more damage that can be done. When do you plan on doing that?
We don't know when they plan on closing it up. All we do know is that they're containing it right now with the fog and the water.
You said you have a sensor on the railroad track?
Yeah, Norfolk Southern has they have sensors along the rail lines which detect chemical leaks.
So you have none on the Radford campus, so you would have no idea if it
There
goes
are
up?
some on Radford campus, but the ones that were activated were the ones on the railroad track, and that's what confirmed that it was chlorine, as well as hazmat secondary confirming it when they arrived with their equipment.
Will Radford sensors be turned on or activated?
They already are.
So you still have no confirmed that no
No.
gas is on campus?
Nope.
You had said 15 parts per minute?
Per million.
Per million. Is there any way you can describe that with a little less technical jargon for the public to be able to understand a little better the different levels?
The next level is 30 parts per million.
What does that mean?
That means that the signs that it means obviously it means that the level of chlorine has increased.
So you mean like low, medium, high, or are you talking small, large?
That would be double of what the level it is now, because it's at 15, 30 would be double, and that's when you'd start seeing more signs.
Okay.
But that's all that we know.
Could we perhaps get that in like a percentage, like pollen gives you percents, like?
I can speak with hazmat and see if I can bring one of them out at our next briefing so they can give more information. Right now, their main focus is containment.
So we've really been talking about hazmat being our primary resource, but we haven't actually gotten a chance to talk to them. So how effective is it going to be to like keep speaking on these things if you don't really have any more information?
Well, we don't want to pull any of our resources away from containing this in order to speak.
You can't pull one representative away?
Right now, they're in the incident command center.
So hazmat doesn't have a representative
They do have a representative, but they are in the incident command center. as
So
we speak.
even the representative for hazmat is in there, containing it too, like, that doesn't quite make sense.
They're in the planning process as well.
No PR? There's-
We'll be back in probably 30 minutes to give you more information. Just a quick update, we're not taking any questions. Hazmat has secured the leak, they've contained the leak completely, they've stopped it. The Department of Environmental Quality has arrived on the scene, and we have a private company, Acme, they are securing and removing the container, and that is all we have right now.
What have you got to hide that you're not taking questions?
We're getting back so we can keep working.
All right, I'm Christian Stevens reporting with the Tartan. At approximately 1:10 today, there was an accident on East Main Street. The accident was a part of a two-part accident that happened. There was a first accident on North 81, in which they diverted traffic onto East Main Street in Tyler. The accident on Tyler was a hazardous truck that contained chlorine, which then spread to the air. RU officials are moving students to shelters in the Kobe building. They have evacuated the Dedman Center, Cup Stadium, Armstrong, and facilities management, and along with the apartments down by the river, which is Green Hill. There were no injuries so far. The only person they can confirm right now is the driver of the hazardous truck. There has not been an official name released or a company of the hazardous truck. And as of 1:35, the RU officials have sent out emails and alerts to the students.